Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Gail Rudolph. She's the committee chair for the Leading Forward Conference of the Association of Healthcare Philanthropists. An amazing woman, a great conference. I'm honored to be a speaker there next week, so stick around. You'll want to hear this.
Welcome to Your Mark on the World, bringing you another changemaker with champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
This episode is made possible via the support of our sponsors, including Johnson & Johnson's Caring Crowd. Gail, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin, for hosting me.
Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. I appreciate that you're running from thing to thing and you're doing this interview from your car, and I appreciate you making time to do it. So,
no problem.
Listen, Gail, tell us a little bit more about the Association of Healthcare Philanthropists and the conference next week.
Well, actually, the Association of Healthcare Philanthropy is a professional association for hospitals not only nationwide, but internationally. And we come together for networking opportunities, best practices, to work together to solve problems, to work with these hospital foundations to actually advance healthcare in our communities through our local hospitals.
Well, it's such vital work. As you know, the healthcare industry in the United States is challenged by a lot of things, and the philanthropy arms of hospitals and healthcare providers are often called upon to fill the gaps, aren't they?
They actually are, especially now since reimbursement is hampering our abilities to keep state-of-the-art equipment in the hospitals. We are also an avenue for pilot programs, so many times we have the funding to try something new or to do the research that's needed to actually advance healthcare within the industry.
Well, it's all vital work that you do. You spent about 20 years in the industry, and recently you left the practice to join an expert firm called Advancement Resources, right?
That is correct.
Tell us a little bit about their work.
Advancement Resources has actually been a firm that's worked studying why donors give, what their motivation is, some of the things within the industry. We work both in healthcare and academic institutions. They've been answering the why question for years. Why it's so important for people to give back, why philanthropy is so meaningful to people. And I've worked with them for about 15 years, and about 6 months ago, I joined them because what we were discovering is that although it was extremely vital information and very helpful as we did our trainings with many donors and physicians and hospital and development staff, what we found was that there was a gap, as there is always, between knowing what to do and actually getting it done. So we've actually expanded that program into a strategic partnership program where we will actually come alongside foundations within the industry as a strategic partner and help them make that rubber meet the road so that their programs are as effective and as meaningful and as advanced as they can possibly be.
Yeah, fantastic. I look at your expertise and the years that you spent in healthcare philanthropy, and I really want to try and tap into that expertise today for a few minutes, just to give us a flavor of what will be coming at the conference. Mm-hmm. I think you're calling the conference Leading Forward this year, which is a ambitious title and theme for that conference. But what can people expect at the conference next week?
Well, actually, the conference was set up, we revamped it last year. This is my second year to chair it. And the conference is set up for those high-level foundation philanthropy people that are leading the entire teams. It is actually what it says. It's all about leadership. Bill Hybels says that everybody wins when a leader gets better, and that's what the days of this conference is all about. Approaching the issues that only a high-level leader approaches, giving them education from within the industry and outside the industry so that we can be as most effective at solving the problems that we face every day.
Well, certainly there is a great benefit in having a little cross-pollination. You bring people in from outside the industry who bring in new ideas, new perspectives to old and important themes, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that next week.
We're looking forward to having you.
Well,
So
thank you.
we cover some topics that don't always get talked about.
Yeah.
And it's very beneficial. We kind of use the summit as an executive kind of retreat for about 100 CEOs from foundations. Not only, like I said, not only nationally, we'll have people from Canada that will be joining us also. Nobody from overseas this time that I know of yet.
There's still time. There's still time.
There's still time.
They got to get on a plane quickly, but there's still time. So one of the things you asked me to talk about is crowdfunding. And I'm really curious to learn more about how Healthcare Philanthropy already uses crowdfunding. Is it used much?
It is in some places. In some places, I think we're way behind on doing that. So most of our donor database, or our donors that are in our database and the people we work with, are really from that baby boom generation. But what we're finding is that there's a big difference between the parents and the children when it comes to philanthropy. And they want to do that through crowdfunding, which is one reason why we wanted to bring you on board, because it's definitely something that we need to become more informed about and be able to actually offer to our donors.
Right. When you hear GoFundMe, what do you think? What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think it depends on which way I think about it as to which donor. When I think about my children and their approach to philanthropy, I think that it's the only way that they look at philanthropy, and they do it, and they get all of their friends and people together. When I think about that 80-year-old donor who's now using our healthcare system, it's a completely different thing. They don't know what it is and they don't understand it.
Right.
But I think that the one thing that we need to do is to be able to make sure that when we're talking about philanthropy and crowdfunding, that we're giving back to the people that feeling of doing something good and bringing something great to their community or their neighborhood or whatever they're choosing to fund at the time.
Yeah. What are the primary uses of the funds that most philanthropies associated with a healthcare institution are funding? What are they usually using the money for?
Well, I'd like to say that there's a standard answer for that, but there really isn't. It varies from year to year. So we could be raising money for capital projects, for equipment in the hospital, for new bed towers. We could be raising money for a whole new institute, like a cancer institute or a cardiac institute. We also do a lot of seed money for programs that are involved with research that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do if we didn't have the money to do that. And probably the other thing that we fund a lot are those, I don't want to say nice to haves, but those things that really help our patients, those navigators that help our older clients or people with cancer or a cardiac issue get through the system and get all their appointments made and just keep everything working for that. So it's really a wide variety. It can be just about anything. It can be art therapy, pet therapy. I've funded so many different things from cardiacs to beds to groundbreaking programs. So it really can be anything that the donor wants. The nice thing about healthcare philanthropy is that we have an operating grant from the hospital. So when a donor gives their money, 100% of that actually goes to the cause and the work that they want it to go to. There's no operation costs that come off the top.
Is that universal among healthcare philanthropies?
It is pretty much, usually with healthcare, you will see that. Once in a while, you'll come across somebody that's not, but most of the time it is 100% goes to the fund or the project that the donor specifies.
Well, that is comforting to donors, isn't it? That's a powerful motivation.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting to think about the transition, the generational shift of money from the baby boom generation, where that group of people are retiring, They're becoming healthcare patients themselves more and more. And soon they'll be leaving that money to a new generation of people who do have a little different approach. Not just your kids, but even you yourself are much more digitally enabled and empowered than your parents, right?
Correct. Yes. Just for the fact that I'm doing this interview in my car, that's about itself.
Pretty good evidence. Yeah, your parents probably even today could not conceive of how that could happen, and yet here you are doing it.
What I do see in my own children is that they want their friends to be involved in the same things they're involved with. So when my parents or myself, when I make a donation, I will reach out to maybe a couple of other people. That's totally different when I watch my two children make a donation. They open it up to their entire network and their friends' networks, and it blossoms into something much bigger than just the few people that it started out with.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, this is great stuff. You know, Gail, you've had a really successful career, and obviously you've learned a lot. What's the most important lesson you've learned during your career?
That the most important thing is that people get to feel good about what they're doing. They've worked hard for their money. They've worked hard to bring that in. And when they actually give their hard-earned money, that we want to make sure it's being used at the most vital way that it possibly can be, but also that they feel good and know that what they've contributed has had benefit to people, that it's had an impact. I think that that's probably the biggest thing I learned, that it's really not about what's needed at the hospital. It's about what the donor wants to do and wants to accomplish.
Boy, great lesson. That's powerful. That's important to remember. Gail, you kind of have devoted your life to philanthropy, and certainly you're a bright, capable person who could have done anything. Why was that your chosen career?
For me personally, it was that ability to be a conduit, to help find a need within our community and find somebody who wanted to help fill that need. I often introduce myself as a dream catcher, because I'm matching what the hospital or a physician needs with somebody who wants to give back. And that's a great feeling to be that person that's able to match those two dreams together.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. That's very inspiring. Last question, Gail, what is your superpower?
That's an interesting thing. I've been talking a lot the last few weeks about superpower. I think that probably my superpower is to see a need and not sit and just pretend it's going to fix itself, but to actually jump in, find a solution for it, and help create something that brings an end to a need that's out there.
Oh, that's great. What a great superpower. Boy, if more people had that superpower, there wouldn't be any problems in the world. They'd all be solved. Well, Gail, thank you for taking time with us today. Can you tell us, and I keep saying the conference next week because we're recording this last week.
Right.
In fact, the conference starts in just 2 or 3 days from when this will be posted and when people will watch it. So tell us how people can register for the conference, how they can learn more about it, and how they can connect with you personally at Advancement Resources.
Yes. So you can register for the conference at ahp.org. It's called the 2018 Leading Forward Conference. It's under their educational sessions. Or you can reach out to me directly at grudolph@advancementresources.org, and I will make sure and connect you with the right people to do that.
Fantastic. Well, Gail, again, thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and we wish you every success with your event next week and a great career at Advancement Resources.
Thank you. Thank you, Devin.
All righty, let's do some good.
At Caring Crowd, we believe everyone has the power to make a difference. Through our crowdfunding platform for community health, we empower passionate people to drive real change. Whether you work for a nonprofit organization, volunteer, or want to get involved for the first time, you can post a campaign on Caring Crowd. Join us, because caring is where change begins.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is available at youtube.com/Devin Thorpe. Subscribe to this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes by searching for Your Mark on the World. Every weekday, Devin hosts a CEO, celebrity, entrepreneur, or other changemaker here on the Your Mark on the World show to inspire and prepare you to make your mark. Devin is a champion of social good, writing about, advocating for, and advising people who are doing good. He is a Forbes contributor who is a recognized thought leader in social entrepreneurship, impact investing, and crowdfunding. To book Devin as a speaker, visit devinthorpe.com.